The bird, the one I was listening to, he led me right here because smile was even bigger now. You see that he pointed up at the branch of the tree. Behave a fine, large one. Sylvia heard of to call the rest of the group. He had heard of this, that the shore called follow the call of the birds, called the honey cage, but he had never seen it done before. Honey, this night the world fest. Sylvia, I was sullen shot because farmer were lamp and raw. A friend of Bacchus had a fat lip. They all looked as tough. They had been in a terrible feasting, but their injuries weren't breasts. They were be setting a fire had been started under the tree to smoke the bees out of the hive and make them sleepy. But as Pesca and the other School men were removing the hive from the tree. The bees woke up and were not at all happy to discover that their home was being taken away. They expressed their unhappiness very clearly by being swarming and sitting a lot. It was worth it. Sylvia drove as he touched his eye generation. His belly was a round lamp stuffed full of honey and beesway. Nothing had ever tasted so good as those pieces of honeycomb, dripping with rich, lasting gold sweetness along with everyone else in the group. He had eaten as much as he could hold and then a little more. All around him, people were licking their fingers in great satisfaction, except for one Dinka man who had been stinged on his tongue. It was swollen so badly that he could not close his mouth. He called hardly slowly. Sylvia felt very sorry for him. The poor man couldn't ever enjoy the honey. The walking seemed easier now that Sylvia had something in his belly. He had managed to save one last piece of honeycomb and had wrapped carefully in a lift. By the end of the next day all the honey was gone, but Sylvia kept the pathway in his mouth and showed it for the moment of sweetness. The group got a little bigger with each passing day. More people joined them, people who had been walking alone or in little clusters of two or three. Sylvia made it happy to service to whole group every morning and evening, searching for his family, but they were never among the newcomers. One evening, a few weeks after Sylvia had joined the group, he made his usual walk around the first, scanning every face in the hope of seeing a familiar one. Then Sylvia almost lost his footing as the group underneath him seemed to move. A boy jumped to his feet and stood in front of him. "Aye, that was my hand you stepped on," the boy spoke Dinka, but with a different accent, which meant that he was not from the area around Sylvia village. Sylvia took took a step back. "Sorry, are you hurt?" The boy opened and closed his hand a few times, then shrugged. "It's all right, but you really should watch where you are going." "Sorry," Sylvia replied. After a moment's silence, he turned away and began searching the crowd again. The boy was still looking at him. "Your family?" he asked. Sylvia shook his head. "Me too," the boy said. He sighed, and Sylvia heard that sigh all the way to his heart. Their eyes met. "I'm Sylvia. I'm Marilia. It was a good to make a friend." Marilia was the same age as Sylvia. They were almost the same height when they walked side by side. The streets were exactly the same length, and the next morning they began walking. "Daughter, do you know where we're going?" Sylvia asked. Marilia tilted his head up and put his hand on his brow to shade his eyes from the rising sun. "Esti," he said Weasley, "we are walking into the morning sun." Sylvia lighted his eyes. "I know we are going easy," he said. "Anyone could tell that. But where in this SG?" Marilia thought for a moment. "Ethiopia," he said. "It's east of Sudan is Ethiopian." Sylvia stopped walking. "Ethiopian? That is another country. We can't walk all the way there. We are walking east," Marilia said firmly. "Ethiopia is east. I can't go to another country," Sylvia thought. "If I do, my family will never find me." Marilia put his arm around Sylvia's shoulders. He seemed to know what Sylvia was thinking, for he said, "It doesn't matter. Don't you note that if we keep walking east, we'll go all the way around the world and come right back here to Sudan? That's when we'll find our family." Sylvia had to laugh. They were both laughing as they Saturday walking again, arm in arm, their skirts matching perfectly. More than a month had passed since Sylvia had run from his school into the bush. The group was now walking in the land of the Ataut people. In the Dinka language, the Ataut were called the people of the lion. Their region was inhabited by large herds of antelope, wildebeest, geese, and a lion that preyed on them. The Dinka told story about the Ataut. When an Ataut person died, he came back to earth as a lion with a great hunger for the human flesh he once had. The lion and the Ataut again were said to be the first in the world. Might become insane. Sylvia woke after often to the sound of roars and the destination, and sometimes to the dead skull of an animal under a lion claw. One morning he woke bleary-eyed after a poor sleep. He rubbed his eyes, rose, and stumbled after Marilia as they began walking yet again. Sylvia, it was not Marilia who had spoken. The voice had come from behind them. Sylvia turned. His mouth fell open in amazement, but he could not speak. "Sylvia?"